everyone, what's up? You're still with me, Agatha, and I am back for another content for today. So without further ado, I know a lot of people again have been asking for this. So in this video, I'll get straight to it. We will be talking about the documents that you would need to submit for your sponsor. So me and my family have applied for student permit, and then my husband applied for an open work permit, and then I have 3 kids. 2 of them have applied for student permits, and my youngest applied for a tourist visa because she's a toddler, so she's not yet of school age, therefore she only requires a visit visa. So in all of those applications, we've always had sponsors that we added to the application. There are 2 reasons why you would need to provide a sponsor. The first one is, of course, if you don't have sufficient funds. Let's say if you are a student, you are required to show proof of funds that you have a specific amount. Otherwise, you are going to be refused based on financial grounds. So a lot of applicants would require a sponsor to complement the funds that they have so that they can, build the total that they need. Others would require a sponsor. We did this for most of our applications. We already had the number of funds, or we already have completed the required funds for me, my husband, and my family, but we just want to add a sponsor so that we can ensure that the application has more strength. We'll go through all the documents required, and I'll provide a little bit of information about each. So let's get straight to it. Okay. So first, as a sponsor, you would need to provide a letter of support. So this letter of support details what kind of support you're going to provide to the applicant, and possibly also the reason why you're supporting them. That's at least what we did in my scenario. So my sponsors wrote a 1-page letter of support detailing who they are, what our relationship is, and why they would want to help me out, what areas they will be helping me on, and those information. And the declaration of understanding is also there, that they are aware of the laws, rules and regulations, and will help us out, But I will do a separate vlog on the letter of support that we made for my sponsors. I'll give you an example. I'll give you the sample that I used. Okay, so this letter of support, a lot of questions have been asked if you would need to provide like a notarized copy. I did not provide any notarized. Well, I did. We had multiple sponsors just because I want to make sure I cover all the bases. So we got as much sponsors as we could have, especially it was a family application, so there were 5 of us. So even though we had the complete funds that we require, I wanted to make sure that I cover all the bases, and we have extra funds. They even if we were not able to, even if we won't be able to work during the time that I'm studying, there's still someone to support us. So I got my auntie as a sponsor, my mother, and we also had my sister-in-law. So I think we started out with 3, but for the last application, I took out my mother and my sister-in-law, and then we just went with my auntie that's here in Canada. So additional, it was my husband's godmother that we added, the one who's also here in Canada, because my mother and my grandparents, I added my grandparents. My mother, my grandparents were in the US, and my sister-in-law was in Australia. So during the subsequent applications, we have removed them, and we just stuck with the sponsors that we have here in Canada. So the letter of support, it does not need to be notarized. It's not listed anywhere on the CIC website that you have to provide a notarized copy, especially for those that are overseas. Here in Canada, if you need a document notarized, it really costs a lot. So it's not easy for them to have documents notarized and letter of support. So we just did a draft letter of support on the computer, Microsoft Word. I did it, and then I sent it to my auntie, and she did a couple of revisions, and then she signed it, and that's it. She sent it back to me. So we did paper applications and we did online applications as well. So for both of those, I just used the letter that she sent. For the paper base, I just printed it out as it is. And for the online, of course, I just downloaded that copy, and then I attached it to all the other documents that we have, and then submitted it. So it's really easy. And for some of the sponsors that I had, those that are in the US provided a statutory declaration. In addition to the letter of support. It's more of a legal document than just a letter of support. Okay, but you either or is fine, because the statutory declaration is going to include the purpose of your document anyway. So yeah. Proof of relationship is also required. So what we provided for my auntie, and for my auntie, I provided birth certificate. So she wasn't my immediate family, like a mother would have. Like for my mother, I would have her name on my birth certificate. So what I did, since it was an extended family, an extended relative, so I had her birth certificate and my mother's birth certificate and my certificate. So the reason being is that my mother and her would share the same parents, and then I showed my birth certificate with my mother as, you know, the parent, to show their relationship. And I also provided pictures of us. So we haven't been in contact, we haven't been physically in contact, just because they've lived in Canada for a few years, and they haven't been back home recently during my application. So, but I still showed pictures. I downloaded all our pictures together, like still from way back. Like, I want to show that we really had that relationship as a family, that I grew up with her by my side, and you know, we have family gatherings, reunions. So what I did is I did everything online. So some pictures I scanned, some pictures were off Facebook, so I just downloaded it, and then I put it into like a collage in a Word document. So I just inserted pictures, lots of pictures. So for me, I think I had 2 to 3 pages of pictures, and that wasn't just for my auntie, so that was for the whole sponsors, the multiple sponsors that we had. And then we go to the next one. So we have proof of identification for the sponsor. So what my sponsor submitted was their passport bio data page. So this is, I think, the second one with the pictures and their name. If your sponsor doesn't have that, any government ID would be fine. So in this case, they submitted both passport and Alberta ID. Or PR card would also work, or citizenship card. So those are identification documents that they can submit. Just a copy of that. They can either scan that or photocopy that and send that over to you. So that's also what I did. I just printed those out when we submitted paper-based, and then for the online, of course, we just downloaded and then uploaded that on the application portal. Okay, next is the COE. COE is COE, Certificate of Employment, or Employment Letter. So it just would have to state how long they have been in the company, their pay rate. So that would depend, whatever the format would be the company. But yes, an employment letter that's updated, so as recent as possible during the application period. So my sponsors, well, I did submit that multiple times, because we submitted for my husband and we submitted for my kids. So the longest, it was recent, up until I think the latest that I was able to use that certificate of employment was about 3 months. So I did not receive any negative feedback on that. We were not refused and got that comment. So I would say that time frame would still be fine. So yeah, COE employment letter would be fine, because they're your sponsors, so they should be employed, right? And then aside from that, Payslips, definitely. So payslips just showing that they have regular income. So my sponsor submitted, I think, 3 to 4 months worth of payslip. It's easy if the payslip is electronic, so they just have to download it and then send it over to you there. So for payslips, and then another income document would be the tax papers. So it's different in which country your sponsor would be. For the Philippines, it's ITR 2316, right? I don't know. But for the US, I forgot what it's called. But here in Canada, it's called NOA, a Notice of Assessment. So that's the yearly tax assessment that happens. So that's going to show how much your sponsors have earned in the past year, and that's really going to be helpful in them assessing if that sponsor could really guide you or support whatever statement they have mentioned in the letter of support there. So the notice of assessment is just 1 page or 2 pages, and they could download that online, or it gets mailed out to them every year, so they should have a copy of that. Yeah, so that's for the recent year, for the latest year. So if it's 2020, they have the NOAA for the 2019 tax year. Okay, and then next is of course, here we go for the proof of funds that they are able to support you. Bank certificate, definitely. It would depend on which country they are. In Canada, here in bank certificate, there is a cost attached to this because I've tried obtaining a bank certificate as well. So a bank certificate here, a letter specifically that states bank certificate and your details with the bank, has a cost to it. I think I was quoted about $15 to $25, and it takes a couple of business days. So for those I've banked with Scotiabank here and RBC. What I did for obtaining bank certificate, and that's what my sponsors did here as well. So they went into the branch, they just requested like an account summary. So you could request that with your bank, and that should pass for the bank certificate because it has your name, when you opened it with them, and then how much your balance is, and all those information. So this is what I submitted. But for other countries, for the Philippines, bank certificate is really like a short statement that you are a client in this bank since this date, and this is how much funds you have, and then they have a stamp that they have to prove. So it's the same one here. When I got bank certificates here in Scotiabank and RBC, they did like a branch stamp, so that should still be fine. And aside from that, bank statements, I have obtained about 3 to 4 months bank statements. This is for myself as well and for my sponsors. So bank statements basically prove that there's savings in your account, in not just savings, but they probably look into how much money comes in, how much goes out, and if it's really active. So there's revolving money in there, and possibly they would also correlate the pay slips and see if it's really legit pay slip that comes into your account every salary date. So yeah, 3 to 4 months of bank statements. That is easily achievable here in Canada by if they have an online account. They just have to download those on their bank's online website. For Philippines, I did go to the branch just because I wasn't able to really obtain it through online. There's payment when you get bank statement, so it depends on which bank you're with. And then my sponsor submitted car and house registration as well, because my sponsorship letter included that they will be supporting me, not mostly with financial, but they'll be supporting me for transportation, accommodation, and budget, groceries. So for the transportation and accommodation, this is where the car and house and lot registration comes in. So possibly a deed of sale or a contract of whatever, contract of those. Yeah, so that's what we submitted, just to provide that they really are able to help me with accommodation and transportation. Okay, and if they have any properties that they have a document, so this will be helpful for financial proof. Let's say they could go away, they would have another income. If they're not able to support you, they have this house that they may probably sell or anything like that. So it strengthens your application. So if they have any more properties that they are willing to share with you, just the document, that should be fine. Title of the property, all those. My grandparents also included insurances, but that's not really needed. They just wanted to show that they have this funds in case something bad happens or anything. And some of those are I was listed as a beneficiary. And savings account, anything that's proof of funds, like RRSP here, they can also include that. Checking, savings, investments that they could provide. So, and they can also provide gift deed. I think I've heard a couple of situations like this. So gift deed is like a letter or a legal document that they allows you to transfer ownership of property or money or anything that has a sentimental value to it that may add strength to your application, that's without charge or consideration. So I actually searched for this. We were supposed to use this one for one of our applications, but we did actually do a gift deed already, but we did not include that in the application just because we felt like the other documents were already sufficient enough, and we don't really want to do it, overdo it too much. Like the officer may feel that we're not able to depend on our own. That's why we have lots of sponsors. So we did not want them to think it that way. Yeah, okay. So there, I hope I was able to give you information that may help you out in your application. I believe that this were all the documents that we submitted, and we were fine. All those sponsors were accounted for, so we've got approved. And for the times that we were refused, they had no comments whatsoever about the documents of the sponsors or anything that the sponsors are ineligible or the sponsors will not be able to really sponsor you. They don't see that they are able to really have an effect on the application sponsorship. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to subscribe, like this video, share this video. I would really appreciate it. And again, till next time, I'll see you again. Bye.